Thank you.
All right, let's continue with the service. Now I'm going to read the scripture. And the scripture reading is taken from the book of Matthew, chapter 17, verses 1 and 2, and the Lamsa translation of the Bible. Judge not, that you may not be judged. For with the same judgment that you judge, you will be judged. And with the same measure with which you measure, it will be measured to you. And thus concludes the scripture reading. It's in Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 and 2. The theme of this sermon was inspired by a little incident that happened at work, and it left me a little frustrated, and that's an understatement. I had been working very hard on a project, and those who benefited from this work really appreciated it. But somehow, the senior leadership didn't care. And I felt that they didn't care because even though it had met a need that was felt by many, they didn't consider this work as important. And I was mad. They judged my work. But it's also felt like they were judging me and that I was not important because I was not working on things that they cared about. I was in a bad mood for the rest of the day when I realized that. And I felt defiant. And during my bike ride home that evening, I was imagining scenarios where I was going to prove them wrong. Then about 20 minutes in, I realized that I was ruining my precious me time. Because when I bike home, I normally use this time to decompress, to let go of work. And instead of letting go, I was getting angry. I had to switch gear. I realized at some point that they didn't know all the good things that I do. They didn't have the full picture. I had done something good, and actually, I had done many other good things, and they didn't know about them. And actually, that was all that mattered. I knew that I had done well. But the judging was kind of frustrating. At some point, though, I thought of a moment in my life when I realized that the opinion of me or anger towards me by someone that had been very close to me didn't matter to me anymore. I simply stopped caring about what that person thought of me. I realized that even though this moment had come gradually, it stemmed from a decision that I had made at some point to not let this person's opinion of me bother me. And I wasn't going to let this energy penetrate my consciousness. That was it. And then while biking home that evening, processing all my frustrations, I realized that I could make this decision again. It was my choice. So I decided to let go of that opinion that others had formed of me and to spend the last 20 minutes of my beautiful bike ride home with much nicer energy. And then instead of trying to convince them of the great things that I had done, I had to focus on those things and give myself a pat on the back because I deserved it. We are all judged at some point in time, and sometimes we don't even realize it. And perhaps that's a good thing. But let's look at judging in our environment. When I look at current events, it makes me feel like we are often judged for not being enough. The homeless don't matter to those in charge. Remember, the encampments were removed from D.C. Poor people don't matter. Their SNAP benefits have been drastically cut. Immigrants don't matter. They're being treated, hence judged, as lesser people. And in some areas, black people are treated like they don't matter. They're judged as lesser people too. As a minister, my purpose is to give a spiritual way to address how we deal with things in life, how we deal with frustrations and hurts. So I'll focus on that. We're being judged. It can be infuriating. We can judge them back. We can feel defeated. We can feel beat down. We can feel angry. We may feel stuck, angry, and hurt, and we can remain angry, frustrated, and hurt for a long time, stuck in those lower energies and vibrations. Sometimes, though, when we are angry and frustrated about being judged, we're made to feel that we don't matter. Could it also be that we are judging ourselves? Could it be that we have doubts about the value that we bring into the world? Because the world at some point made us feel like we don't have a high-paying job or an advanced degree, or we don't have millions of followers on YouTube and Instagram, or we don't have a prominent place in society, or even millions of billions of dollars, so we don't matter. Sometimes, perhaps, a part of us believes that. When we give importance to what others think, we give them our power. We diminish our own value. And we have to reclaim our power. And reclaiming our power starts with a decision that we have to make about ourselves. The decision that we have to make is that we matter. We cannot stay in those energies of, I'm angry at them, I'm frustrated. Anger can energize us, but it can also distort our thought process. So we need to transmute this energy of anger and frustration into resolution, a resolution to bring change. And it doesn't start with them. It starts with ourselves. You know, let's make an analogy. When we talk about a relationship with a significant other, sometimes we hear that we cannot change them. We can only change ourselves. Or we can change how we react to the situations or actions of that person. And that's true for all relationships, even our relationship with society. It is how we react to others in our environment that can bring peace and change. You've heard the saying, you can say, charity starts at home. And it usually means that before you help others, you should help yourself. And it can seem a little selfish, but sometimes it's much needed. And also, that's what we need to do energetically. Charity starts at home. It means that we have to take care of our own beliefs, of our own self-worth, before we can try to convince others of our worth. And if others make us feel that we don't matter, we can say to ourselves, hell no. You are not, I know you're not used to hearing hell no here on the platform, but hell no can also mean I'm not going to stay in that lower place of consciousness where I will let myself feel diminished by the judgment and action of others. And by adding loving and constructive energies instead, we add those energies to ourselves, we can make ourselves happier and more powerful. And that's how the universe works. A beautiful and a very powerful clergyman named Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive hate. Only love can do that. It argues that love is the most powerful tool to heal. Heal society, but also to heal ourselves. It has a moral dimension to it as well. Because if we are to remain true to our faith, which preaches love and healing, light is the best way, if not the only way. And that's how we can heal ourselves and others. This statement addresses the power that we all have to bring light into the world. You've heard it many times, I'm sure. It was true in 1963, it is true today, and it will be true tomorrow. Keep in mind that everyone in the world has a part to play in the universe. And on its surface, the work that someone does may not seem that important. You may think of cashiers at the grocery stores. You may think they don't bring much value to you. They scan or key in numbers in the cash registers. They take your money. They can be replaced. Most actually have been replaced by self-checkout. But remember the time, way back when, before online grocery shopping, before self-checkout lines, when the cashier you knew greeted you with a smile and talked to you while entering the price on the cash register or scanning your groceries and bagging them, brightening your evening after a long day at work. It might not have seemed like what they did was important. They were keying in stuff and taking your money. And they were pretty underpaid. But in the grand scheme of things, they had so much power, making you feel good. So you may be working or have been working with people whose work had little monetary value, but what else did they bring? Or what else did you bring if you were in that situation? You may have been in that situation, so perhaps underpaid, underappreciated, but you brought smiles and healing into your environment. So we can judge others for not being as important as we are, or we can judge ourselves for not being as important as others. But we don't have to, because we realize that we bring value on this amazing universe, just like everybody. Life puts us on a path for a reason. We all create together. Nothing is left to chance. Life is many things, and we often think of it as a school for us to learn. But it's also a school for us to teach. Lead by example. Remember that we are all one. So let's bring love into our hearts and not judge. Let's not judge others negatively. Let's not judge ourselves negatively. Let us reclaim our power. Let's show the world that with the power of love and light, we can change the world. Let love and the invisible healing power that we hold transmute energies of disdain, pain, and suffering into energies of love, healing, and support. And so it is. So now we're going to have the meditation. Make yourself comfortable, but I say within measures. Keep your shoes on. All right. And then put your hands in a receiving position on your lap and or on your side. And then we're going to start with just a few deep breaths, and then I will play the bowls, and that will really give you an opportunity to tune in by listening to the bowls. So take a deep breath in and hold it for 4 seconds. And then release for 4 seconds. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 3, 4. And release, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And release.